This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, Phil! Wham Bam Bam
Yo, what's up, everybody out there? And thank you for joining in on Wham Bam's podcast. I'm your boy, Phil Benamino, a.k.a. Wham Bam. And if the odds are against you like they've been for me your whole life, and you're not sure if you can succeed, well, I'm living proof. This is a show about regular people who've done extraordinary things and are nothing but self-made. So you know what? Today we got an awesome show for you. I can't wait to introduce our new guest, the Mind Doctor. We're going to talk about mental health because everybody out there has a little bit of that in them, but some want to do something about it and some don't, and some would like to, but not sure where to go. So this show is designed so that you have that outlet. But first, I want to welcome my co-host, the famous Miss Kylie Benamino.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here, Kai. And you know what? I'm so excited about today's show. Today, Kylie, we got Dr. Kawakami here. Do you realize he's been in mental health addiction for the field nearly 20 years? He's licensed in the National Board Certified Professional Counselor and a National Board Certified Clinical Hypnotherapist.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Like, he can hypnotize you. You know, like when you drive down the road and, you know, you're driving, you're thinking, and all of a sudden the red light pops up and you're like, you slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
We get hypnotized. That's a part of being hypnotized, you know? So guess what? We're going to talk to him a little bit later about that and what that means because everybody has gone through it. Now, you may have seen this man on TV. The Mind Doctor has been on the hit TV shows such as Bravo's Married with Medicine. He's been on VH1's Love and Hip Hop. He's been on WeTV's Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta, working with rapper and producers Bow Wow and even Da Brat. He is an author and a veteran serving our United States of America. He's coming in our showroom right now. Here he is, the Mind Doctor himself. What's up, Doc? And thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Phil.
Man, I'm so excited about today's show, man. There's so much, great stuff that I know you've done throughout your life. And just the fact that you can embrace us with you being here today just means a lot to us. So thanks for coming by.
Well, absolutely. Again, we've talked about it. And we finally put life on hold. You've been busy. I've been busy.
Yeah.
We're here today to go ahead and share with folks really about mental health.
That's right. And you know what? It's funny. Let's just start, right off with that. First of all, how did you get into mental health?
Well, Phil, let me tell you something. A long time ago, I was at San Quentin State Prison, not as an inmate.
I was going to say, you're an inmate.
As an inmate.
Oh, okay.
We were doing some ministry work there.
Right.
And this guy is 6'3", 6'4", 400 pounds. He was crying. He came to my line. It was a prayer line. I said, Lord, please do not have him come to my line. And, of course, he came to my line.
Sure.
So there he is. He's crying, snot coming down his face. And he says, listen, my dad used to burn me with cigars. Why did he do that? And I was like, I don't know. Let's just pray about it. And I grabbed his hands and he pulled them away. He said, my mom used to do these things to my younger brother. Why did she do that? And I was like, I don't know. Let's just pray about it. And
He didn't kill them, Doc, did he?
No.
That's not why he was there, I hope.
Listen, I don't know what. I just know this, that I couldn't meet his needs. I could pray for him, Phil, but he walked away and said, the days of prayer are over. Why do I feel the way I feel? And I walked away sad because I couldn't tell him. I knew right then I needed some counseling skills. So I said, let me go on back to school. Let me learn about the mind, right? Because if you go to your auto tech, he better know about the engine, right?
Man, so true. I mean, you think about that. I mean, the why, right?
The why.
The why.
If you take your computer somewhere, you better know about the hard drive.
Yeah.
So if you need counseling for mental health, you better go to someone who knows about the mind. And that's me, the Mind Doctor.
Wow, I love it. Thinking about that and stuff and the people that approach it and stuff, why is it that there's so many people out there afraid of getting help? Because to be honest with you, I know I've coached many, many years, a lot of kids throughout the years. I've seen kids that, have been, with broken families, as you call them, broken. Some kids, just their luck was a little bit down and so forth. But you could tell there's something inside of them. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to have many good relationships and try to help these kids to be able to express themselves. But these kids today, they can't express their feelings and stuff. Why do they feel like, they're shameful to reach out for help?
Well, Phil, how about this question? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a lollipop? How many, right? It's
one if you're me, because I want that Tootsie Roll.
Right? And for some, it's that easy. They pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
For others, right, they may not even know why, but it could be shame. It could be embarrassment. It could be because of the family morals and values, right? They grew up and someone said, don't talk about that outside this damn home. Or maybe there's someone in the family who told the child, listen, be strong. Weak people are the only ones who need help and talk about their feelings.
You know what? That's pretty interesting. I never really thought of it like that, growing up, I just kind of share a thing that you just kind of triggered with me, with my dad. My dad used to always tell me the things that I can't do. Son, you can't get into college. You can't beat this kid on the mat. You can't play football after high school and stuff. And I always wanted to prove him wrong. I wanted to go out there and say, oh, yes, I can. What do you mean? And I would work my butt off so I could prove him wrong and stuff. Whereas I found out that the way I was raised didn't always apply to everybody.
That's right.
Because having my daughter, and she's actually sitting here today, Kylie, I remember when she was growing up, I would be like, Kylie, you can't do this, and she would just break down and cry like, you don't believe in me, Daddy. I can't believe that. And it was never the real case, Kai. I just wanted to say that right now, okay?
Good to know.
So, I was just like, you're supposed to prove me wrong, because ultimately I was just trying to get the best out of her because that's what got the best out of me from my dad. But it was those feelings that I didn't really understand. I hated my dad growing up because I thought he was always, yelling at me, always telling me what I couldn't do, and he didn't believe in me. But he was using that reverse psychology, so to speak, so that I could actually see that, that's what drove me.
So isn't it interesting how your father used this reverse psychology on you, and it drove you to succeed? Well, others, the same words, right, might drown them because, I don't understand. Why would he say that? Why would he hurt me that way? Right? And we don't really understand why sometimes that happens, but we know that words are powerful. It can drive you to succeed or it can drown you.
Yeah. So true. And there's so many kids out there today that I think that are, unfortunately, they're in that situation. They're not allowed to cry. Don't cry. They're afraid to cry because they're not sure if it's accepted. Because as in America, a lot of people think if you do cry, then you're a baby, right? And it's wrong. But ultimately, I'll be honest with you. I'm going on 53 and I still cry,
Yeah. Doc, you said something really awesome there. You said, people's words and their actions, and how it affects people. What's the right and the wrong way to tackle mental health, issues to you? What's your approach?
Well, the right way is to make sure that you have the right person, right? Again, as I said earlier, you're not going to take your car to a mechanic who doesn't know about the engine. You're not going to take your laptop to a tech who doesn't know about the hard drive, right? Again, Phil, if you're having chest pains, if there's something going on, you're going to go to a cardiologist, a heart doctor.
Right.
If your feet are hurting, you say, I don't know what's wrong with them, but I need to go see someone. So you'll go see a podiatrist, a foot doctor. Same thing. The right thing, Kylie, is to go to a person who really understands the mind, right? So when you're having issues on the inside, my mind is racing, I'm stressed. I don't even know what this is. I can't even put a label on it. I'm just stuck. Well, that's where I come in, the mind doctor.
It's funny because I've been through, I was fortunate because I have gone through counseling, okay? Because I want to be a better me, right?
Yes.
And I understand that, listen, there's always something we can learn about ourselves that can improve, ourselves tomorrow. That's just it in a nutshell. But when I met you, it was different. And what was different about was your approach. The whole hypnotizing stuff and removing, myself. I remember we took a journey. We took a trip down to Florida. You separated me and stuff. Just your approach is so much different. Can you explain to me how that works?
Absolutely. Listen, admittedly, I'm a recovering talk therapist, right? There was a time I did talk therapy, right? But then there were times when folks got better. Then there were times they didn't get better, and I didn't understand why, right? They would ask me, why do I feel this way? Yeah, I forgave the person. Yeah, it makes sense what you said, but why do I still feel this way? And that's when I recognized, I've been treating the symptoms, the smoke. Again, if the building next door were on fire, Phil, and we looked outside and saw full of smoke, the fire engine pulls up, they begin to spray the water. If they were spraying the water at the smoke, we'd like, hey, what are they doing, right? If the wind blew to the left and the smoke went that way and they adjusted the water to the left, we'd say, no, the fire's in the house, right? Talk therapy is just like that. They address the symptoms on the outside instead of what's on the inside, right? Because on the outside is just a manifestation of what's going on the inside. So I look on the inside because the origin, if I address the seed, then anything that's birthed from the seed also will be addressed.
It's funny because I say that all the time, fake it till you make it, right? And how many people are out there in the world really faking it?
Yeah.
You look at all this social media today and everything else. And, I tell people are like, oh, look at this person, look at this person. I'm like, man, you're seeing the highlight reel. You know what I mean? That person's got problems too. I don't care what you're driving to work. You could be driving a Mercedes Benz, or you could be driving a Hyundai.
Right.
They're both getting you to work. They both got problems. You can have millions of dollars in the bank, or you can have nothing in the bank and be homeless. And they too have the same types of problems. Everybody has a problem to identify with, but it's those who really want to get help, where did they go and how did they go? How did they approach it? And I think more and more things as time is going on, more people are accepting different channels of ways where people can release themselves and put themselves out there and stuff. But explain to me the difference between the whole mental health and mental illness, because I think some people are afraid that, hey, if I go get some help, they're going to immediately put me on medicine. They're going to immediately put me in the one flew over the cuckoo's nest hospital, right? They're going to lock me down. They're going to put this straitjacket on and lock me up.
Right.
You know, how can we get that fear over those people that come into a situation just for, help like yourself?
Well, I think part of it is shows just like this, right? That begins to talk about mental health, right? Begins to expose some of the myths, debunk some of the things that otherwise would continue to persist in someone's family. But accessibility, number one, right? Knowing if you open up any yearbook, doesn't matter which year, and look through the pages, kids are smiling, right?
Right.
But behind the smile, I know, if we could see the struggle behind the smile, right? Because the guys that smile say cheese and they smile, but yet they're going back home to a house of hell. They're going back home to stress and divorce and anxiety, right? So it's just like today. I walked by at the store. I said, hello, how you doing? The person said, fine. In my mind, I thought, probably not fine. But they're not going to stop and tell me their business. If they did, they say, listen, do you really have time to hear about all this going on, right? We don't. It's obligatory. So we say, I'm doing fine. We're doing great. And we keep moving. So there's more folks walking around who are hurting, Phil. And you're right. Without the accessibility and knowing the stigma is gone, listen, go get the help. Talk to someone, right? Hey, if your tooth hurts, where do you go?
Go to a dentist.
And are you ever embarrassed about that?
That makes so much sense. I mean, you're right. Hey, I'm going to dentist today. You let people know.
But let me ask, what do you think is the biggest misconception about people with mental health that would kind of, keep them retracted from coming to you? What's the biggest misconception out there?
The biggest misconception is that if I go see someone, I'm crazy.
Right.
That I'm not in control of myself, that somehow I'm less than. That's my experience. When I ask folks, well, why did it take you so long?
Right.
Well, my mom said, my dad said, and I don't know, I was embarrassed and shame. And I was like, where'd that come from? That's a program, right? They didn't come to that place on their own. That's because someone said something, either directly or indirectly in their family. They recognize that men don't get help. Men don't cry. Men suck it up and they push through. Or conversely, they realize, man, I never saw anyone. They just dealt with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with product of environment, right? The way you are raised and what you're adopting around you and stuff. Times have changed so much. Technology's changed. Medicine has changed.
Yep.
People are changing. And the reality is, your feelings are your feelings, and they're real. And you know what? If you're sad today, there's a reason why you're sad. Don't you want to identify the reason and fix it? Because I know if I have a choice to be sad or be happy, I would much rather be happy. But unfortunately, things happen in our lives where that doesn't play in to effect, No,
and you're right, Phil. But here's something even kind of more mind-boggling. There's many who don't even know that there's help out there, right? There's many who don't even know that they're stuck and that there's much more in life for them. They just think this is what it is, right? That's the pattern. So this morning when you got out of bed, Phil, what side did you get out of?
I got the only side I can get out of is my left side.
The left side. And you probably, like other folks, get out of the bed the same way every single morning, right? You go through the morning routine, you brush your teeth, whatever you do, it's the same thing because we're programmed. We're on autopilot, right? So sometimes folks are going through life, they go to work, they come home, they're doing what they're doing, but they're broken on the inside, as you said earlier, right? They're empty, but they don't understand that there's help available.
Right. Oh, we got to thank our sponsors here. First of all, we got to welcome and thank our sponsor, Cost Plus Processing. Cost Plus Processing is a company that helps business owners nationwide eliminate up to 100% of their processing fees. Find out why they are the future of merchant processing. If you have a business and you're accepting credit cards, give them a call, 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190 today. Mention this podcast and receive a bonus offer when you get this call. All right, so let's get back in the show.
So let's talk a little about you, Mind Doctor. At the end of the day, how do you balance your mental health with your career responsibilities?
Wow. Well, let me tell you something. Mental health is important, right? If I'm a pitcher full of water and based upon how busy I am, if I'm always pouring into people, people are always coming no matter what I'm doing as a father, as a business owner, as a friend, as a son, I'm always pouring into people.
Yeah.
right? They come, and if you can visualize a cup, right, being put out in front, I'm pouring into them. At some point, my pitcher becomes empty.
Sure.
Right now, two things happen after that. They keep coming because that's what people do. Right?
Yeah.
Wanting their needs met. And they get frustrated because I can't pour into their cup anymore. And then I get frustrated because I can't pour into their cup anymore. But the truth is, if I had some self-care, Kylie, right, then I'd be able to then always be refreshed.
So what does self-care look like then for you?
Well, see, for me, self-care is walking in the morning. Like I mowed the lawn yesterday. I love doing landscaping, right? Yeah, I do my own lawn, Phil. Can you believe that?
That is something special. But let me ask you something. If you didn't do your lawn, who would do it?
It'd be me.
But I'm saying if you didn't do your lawn, who would you call on to do it?
I guess I would go on the phone book and call somebody.
Yeah, you go to a landscaper.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that. I like
See, I picked up from what you're saying.
That's right. I would go to the person who knows what they're doing.
Knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. So self-care is super important, right? So exercise, drinking water, really more holistically. So again, mental health hits everyone, right? But if you look at the source, right, if we're mind, body, and spirit, I have to wonder, what am I putting in my body? First of all, right? I could be sluggish today. Well, it could have been the food I'm eating, all the processed foods. I'm all drinking more sugar, all these, again, processed foods I'm eating. I feel like crap, right? I'm not exercising. But now when I am exercising, drinking more water, I feel great. When I'm doing quality time, I'm sitting out by the pool, just listening, right, to nature and earth. When my shoes are off, feeling walking through the grass, bare feet, barefoot, I'm getting recharged, right? Those are positive ions. The grass is alive, right? So self-care is important, whether it's someone's fishing, whether it's sitting by the TV, just chilling, whatever it is, you have to be refreshed. You have to be poured back into.
Well, you know what? The funny thing about it, I don't think people at a younger age understand the importance of self-care.
No.
They're just trying to grow, right? They want to go to the gym to get big, to look good, to get ripped, get those six packs.
We're invincible.
Right, exactly, and stuff. But as we get older, like myself, unfortunately, when the sand is running the opposite direction, I think we start thinking about some of the things a little bit more of what does matter. Right. And and stuff. And really, where do you want your life to really go and what you really want to be? Because at the end, everybody says, hey, you are in control of you. You know what I'm saying? And your feelings are real and my feelings are real. And doesn't mean if we don't disagree, that you're not upset about something if if I am, type of thing.
So when is the best time to start taking care of a car? So you go buy a new car. When is the best time to start doing the maintenance on it?
Should be right away. Be right away. Yeah.
So part of this,
we wait till it breaks.
We wait till it breaks. Yeah. So we shouldn't have to wait till the midlife crisis comes, right? We shouldn't have to wait till we're in the hospital. So again, this podcast is a great place for folks to hear information that says, you know what? I'm only 18. I'm 22. I'm 30. Yes, now is the time to start doing things and putting things in place, right? To really respect your body and understand mental health wise, it's not just what you're thinking, right? What you're putting in your mind, what you're watching, even energy, Phil. Can you imagine this? Ever been somewhere when someone said, yo, I don't really like that guy or her. She has bad vibes.
Right.
Vibes is short for vibrations, right? Energy is real, Phil.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Not that hoo-hoo stuff.
That's right.
So again, we can operate on a certain frequency. If we watch, and see, that's why I got out of reality shows. The truth be it, because most of them were negative. Right. It was bickering and going back and forth. And
complaining, screaming, yelling. But that's what America does.
Yeah, but then they really didn't want help. They wanted help, but they didn't really want help. Right. Why I feel because when people benefit from that type of behavior, it's like, yeah, I kind of want help, but I don't because I'm benefiting from it, right? So I had to leave that lane because it was unhealthy for me. I understood it was just negativity.
Wow, right? That's good. Much respect for that.
So the young people need to understand now is the time. Understand what you're putting into your body. Understand what you're allowing into your ears. Understanding what you're watching all affects you in a profound way in terms of mental health.
I never understood that. And it's funny that you bring this up because, I preach about this all the time. These kids today and people today, they'll scroll through them. They'll spend hours and hours and hours watching people they don't even know, watching their own people they don't know's lives. Instead of spending a little bit of time in their own.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? It's stuff where they can actually say, hey, let me put as much effort into watching somebody else's life. Let me put that much effort in my life so I can become a better person. And you know what? The reason why this podcast I'm so excited about today is because I want people to understand that they can come to people like yourself to get help. Because they should. They need the mind doctor. I know I needed the mind doctor. I remember when I went to you, I said, like, man, you ain't walked in my shoes. You ain't walked in my shoes. You remember that, Doc?
I remember that.
And what was your answer to that one?
I said, yeah, try these shoes on.
Try these shoes on. I said, you ain't watching my shoes. But it's like, oh, your shoes don't fit. But even if they did fit, I'll never forget you said this. Even if they do fit, this still not my shoes.
Still not your shoes. So everyone's experience is different. Even if, again, you had a loved one pass, I had a loved one pass, and they were the same age, everything can be the same, but it's still going to be different. Why? Because we're raised differently, right? We grow up and the things that mom said or didn't say, things that dad said or didn't say, things that folks around you didn't do, all shaped you in a way that gives you a unique perspective. And so we can both watch the same incident on TV, but both have different perspectives on it. Why? Because of the way we were raised. And that's okay.
Right. Talking about a little younger generation, and Kylie, I'm going to bring you into this because, you're obviously been, you're a little bit younger in the generation stuff, but I know that kids today are afraid. They're afraid of the word counseling. I've heard so many people say, I don't need counseling. I don't need counseling. I don't need this. And as soon as you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't need counseling, you're probably one of the biggest candidates for it. What do you find out in the experience being younger? Why is that such a scary word?
I think that there's this, again, kind of goes back to the misconception that it's bad, instead of, it's bad to talk about your feeling. It's bad to be honest. It's bad to tell people the truth and be more direct. But at the end of the day, I think that we should be coaching the younger generation that, no, I want you to be honest with me. I want to know how you're feeling. I want to, have that intentional conversation with you and that relationship with you. So therefore we can have a more better open communication. I think it really streamlines right to communication though, too. It's just, you think about how the younger generation communicates. It's all through social media. It's very lonely, right? It's very isolated. So it's not as where when we were younger, we talked probably a little bit more about our mental health and stuff because it was encouraged. Now it's like, oh, you watch YouTube videos, you TikTok, everything's behind a screen. You can say whatever mean, hurtful comments you want to behind a screen and you don't have to face that person. There's a lack of communication and as well as just an isolation with the younger generation.
So you mentioned something, Kylie, and it just struck me. Because in my family, we didn't talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. It is what it is, right? My mother didn't talk much about it. My father didn't. And whatever was going on.
Right.
But you didn't talk about it, right? And so in some cultures, it's like that. What goes on in the house stays in the house. And I think for my father, he was very stoic, right? He pushed through. He worked 45 years at Ford, blue collar, not 4 or 5 years, but 45 years, right? From 18 to 63, nonstop, never complained a day. I was like, wow, right? And I know there was times he came home struggling. And there was times that he had to go back into work and do things. But guess what? He never said a word about it. So one thing it told me, it's like, wow, this is a strong man. But the flip side then, it gave me another message. Don't complain about nothing.
Right.
Which was a wrong message, right?
It's so ironic because I was actually raised very similar. My father worked at Pepsi for 45 years, exactly the same to the date. And I'll never forget. I mean, he used to get the gout routinely. He would get the gout maybe every 2 or 3 months. He'd drag his foot in. He never missed a day of work.
Right.
And I'll never forget, even after his 45th year, one of the things that always stood out to me was, his Christmas bonus. He would get a Christmas bonus. And one year, after 45 years, got a $50 Christmas bonus. That's what they gave every year. It was $50. What they get. Didn't matter how long you've been there. Right. $50 and stuff. And I was like, damn, Dad, I can't believe 45 years they gave you the same thing. And he said, you know what, son? They didn't have to give me anything. He's like, so I was just very thankful and grateful for that. That taught me a lot of lessons, obviously, and stuff. But I thought, like, yeah, who am I to complain about anything? Right. And stuff. And yeah, I can't be I can't share my feelings because this man's doing whatever he can. So I think yes, your parents do affect, the route that you go.
Right. Well, not only do they affect the route that you go, they affect the route you might not go as well, right?
Yeah.
And so, just for this show again, to be able to have folks here, there's an opportunity, right? It's okay to talk to someone because it shouldn't be fearful, Phil. It's like you and I are talking now, and I could be counseling you on some things, right? When someone needs financial help, they might go to a financial counselor, a financial planner. They want to talk to someone who knows about their situation, who can give them a place of safety and comfort, right? Unconditional regard. That's not going to be judgmental. At the end of the day, right? It's almost like dating someone, Phil, right? It's like, I dated that person. I don't really like him. I don't like that counselor. I tried that counselor. I don't like that counselor either. And that's okay. You want to make sure the counselor you go to is the one that you want to go to. And he gets you, she gets you, and you have an understanding so that going forward, it's like, oh, yeah, I feel comfortable. I can pick up the phone or I'm looking forward to my next appointment. It's an outlet, right? It's self-care.
Yeah. And you know what? And kids need it today. I worry about, you read about these kids, some of these younger kids committing suicide and stuff already. It's sad. because they didn't give their life a chance. That they just thought that, whatever the standards were or whatever they saw or whatever they thought to be true, they felt like they were a victim of whatever it was that they were in. Nobody's really a victim. Like, they do have an outlet. There is control, and they can make a change. And, you don't have to be a certain way your whole life. Obviously, the show is about those types of people, right? People that have done extraordinary things that didn't have anything.
Right.
I know a little bit about your story, Doc. You came from a little hard life, hard knocks and stuff, right?
Well, listen, I'm going to go there in a second, but let me just say for a second, suicide is a simplistically complex thing, right? Because there are folks who really are victims because they don't know any better. It's like, I didn't know I could talk to someone.
Right.
I've been bullied, and I don't want to go to school tomorrow because they're going to say and do the same things. My parents don't understand. Right? All these different variables that has someone say, it's better not to be here, right, than to go face that again, right? But
I don't want to do this no more.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this no more.
Right? Not knowing there is help, right?
Right.
They have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, right? A counselor, a friend. So it is extremely important, right, to recognize the signs as well. Someone who's seems isolated now all of a sudden. Someone who says, I don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to be a part of the friends and go places. Yeah, the concern is more than ever for these kids, especially with social media, Kylie.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off of that, just 2 questions. What are the signs? If you're somebody, an outsider looking in, and you see somebody, or you're at school, you know what I mean, and you kind of see somebody, what are the patterns and the behaviors that you could be looking out for? And how do you step in and try to help? How do you put your hand out and say, hey, let me help you? Like, what are the simplest, approaches that can help them, little tasks that you can give them to try to help them overcome it?
Well, I think first is recognizing, listen, even if I've never been in your shoes, man, I'm here for you. Even as an ear, right? No judgment. I think the biggest sign is a change in behavior, right? We know norms, we know patterns, we know how folks are programmed. And if folks were outgoing and now they're quiet, right? If folks really have been great kids and no issues, now they're getting in trouble. It's like, well, what's really going on? Is that a cry for attention because no one else is listening? So a change in shifts and patterns, Kylie, is the first thing we look for.
Well, and I think one of the things that, the reasons that driving me to coach so many years and stuff and around kids is being able to give them a mentor, give people a place where they can talk. Because let's face it, Doc, not everybody can afford you or get with you or be with you or, find you and stuff, because you can't cure the whole world, right? You're one person at a time, based on that and stuff. How can these kids realize that, hey, I can express my feelings to other people too? And, I know myself having a mentor and having somebody you can call, even if it's just your best friend.
Yes.
You got to be able to do that. And I know a lot of signs that I see a lot of times when, kids do kind of start segregating themselves away, where they're stuck in their room longer. They're sleeping longer. They're constantly tired. Their energy levels have just dropped.
Exactly.
And, I hate to see when kids don't have any energy, because it's either one, they have a horrible lifestyle. They're unfortunate. They're in a bad situation. So they can't sleep. They can't eat. They might not have food. They can't rest, those types of things. Or it's a situation of depression, where they put themselves in that position because they don't like who they are. And I think it runs the question of, people wanting to know, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
who am I? And what am I meant for? What is this life? What am I meant for here in life and stuff? And I can see people more and more challenges with wrestling with that whole idea of it all.
So let me shift your mentality or shift your mindset for a second. You said they put themselves in that position, right? Sometimes we're in the position, we don't even know we're in the position, right? We don't even know. So for example, 5 kids having a sleepover in Alpharetta is a sleepover, right? 5 kids on the floor is a sleepover.
Having fun, yeah.
Right? 5 kids sleeping on the floor in Atlanta is a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. That's just what it is.
Yeah, that's deep.
Right?
That's deep.
And we take it for granted. And so sometimes kids don't even know, right, the situation they're in.
Right.
And again, in the same lane, they don't know there's help available, right? Because mom's working, busting her butt, dad's working. They could be the best parents, but still miss the signs. And the kids say, I don't want to. Mom and dad are already having enough problem with little Ray Ray.
Right.
They're already having, I don't want to be another problem, right? So yes, the coach, the teacher, someone, an adult, to say, listen, I'm having some issues. I don't even know why I feel this way, because, imagine kids act out, even adults act out, Phil, right? Adults are just
You know it.
Hello.
You know, I've been the first one to say, I wish I could control some of the things that come out of my mouth. But you know what? I say things based, on my emotions. I get real emotional about something. I'm very passionate about something. And sometimes I speak and then later on I think back and I go, man, why did I say that? And stuff. Like, it really didn't make sense. I shouldn't have blown my top the way I did. And of course, obviously, it's one of the reasons why I met you too, to get better at that as well, where I can sit back and reflect now and I think before I speak. But yeah, why is it that we act off of our emotions?
So it really is almost a rhetorical question, right? Why do we do those things? I've asked you, and that's a logical thing, right? But imagine this, Phil. Here I was working with a young man, nice looking guy. We were in this office, it was kind of warm. He took his jacket off and he had all these scars on his arm. And I was like, oh, damn, like, what's happening right now? What is that all about? And I said, listen, I'm new. I was at the psychiatric hospital. And I said, tell me, like, didn't that hurt? And he said, of course it did. I said, well, who in their right mind would do that? Right? Who in their right mind, Phil, who in their right mind would cut themselves over and over on their arm? Mm-hmm. Feel the pain, but keep doing it.
Right.
I didn't get it. I was clueless. But who in their right mind would cut themselves over and over, feel the pain, and do it over and over?
Someone didn't like themselves.
That could be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But someone who's getting something from it, even if we don't understand what they're getting from it, because who in their right mind would do that, right? Someone who's getting something from it. That pain, he told me, on my arm is taking me away from that pain, what my mom and dad did to me.
Ah.
I was like, wow.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right, so back to
never
patterns.
Like that perspective.
Yeah, so people do things not because, I'm getting something from it. So we're stuck in patterns sometimes. We want to change. So yeah, if you're saying things that you don't want to say, doing things you don't want to do, consciously you may go ahead and say, I can interrupt the pattern for what, a couple of days?
Right.
And then you fall back into saying, damn it, I said it again. Damn it, I blew my top. And then you think, well, why would I do that? If I love the people, why would I do that? Because that's about a pattern. But I can undo patterns, Phil, right? Mm-hmm. You were programmed somehow because it worked for you at one point. Your quick wit, your quick tongue helped you at times. But now as an adult, you realize I can't really be that way anymore. So that's where the mind doctor comes in to understand how the mind works, to deprogram and then reprogram you in a way that has you then say kind things, right? Uplifting, encouraging, not discouraging, building up and not breaking down.
So, Doc, let me ask you real quick. Where can people find you?
Great question, Phil. They can find me at The Mind Doctor. That's www, all spelled out, TheMinddoctor.com. TheMindDoctor.com is my website, but also on Instagram. So IG is I Am The Mind Doctor. Both places I'm available. There's a link up there, again, for help, for questions, concerns, but also, Phil, because of this awesome podcast, for those who reach us and say, listen, I heard you on Wham Bam's podcast. The first session's free.
What?
Right? Because
you're going to get the first session for free.
Listen, it's that mental health is serious,
it
right?
It is.
I don't want anyone to be out there saying, I can't afford him. You done pump me up, celebrities and all that. But the truth is, listen, if I can't help you, then you need to get help from somewhere.
Wow.
But that first session is going to be free.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There you had it, folks. You heard it right from the Mind Doctor himself. You call anytime. Your first session is free as long as you mention you heard him on the Wham Bam's podcast. Doc, any last things to tell these people out there?
Yes, mental health is important, right? Take care of yourself. Self-care is important, right? What you put into your body, whether you're drinking, whether you're eating, what you put into your ears and your eyes affects your mental health. Again, if you don't get help from me, please get help from somewhere.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. There you have it, folks. The reason why I started this whole podcast is so that you could surround yourself with successful people that can help you in areas of your life that you don't know how to help yourself. Doc, I can't thank you enough for being here today. Really appreciate you coming here and looking forward to, going out there. Hopefully we can reach somebody.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for showing. Remember, if you want to ask any questions for future episodes, and subscribe to our channels and email questions to Phil@whambamspodcast.com. That's Phil@whambamspodcast.com. This episode was brought to you by Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. Call 1-855-391-9190. Find out why they are the future of merchant processing.